Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I don't know what order all these videos will go on, but I started doing a video about something else, and I was talking about I don't know magic or I don't know what I was talking about, but anyway, I got onto this topic about superpower characters and characters that are overpowered, and I maintain in the Marvel universe one of the most overpowered characters, one of the characters that actually do insane amounts of things, is the Invisible Woman, and I say this having grown up with the Fantastic Four. I have read all those comics. I've loved all the different eras. The Fantastic Four, I really feel, doesn't get enough credit. And if I was Marvel, I'd market it this way. It is a comic where you have a Jack Kirby era, which was kind of you know out there sci-fi kind of ideas, both kind of traditional family. I'd like Reed saying like, "Cook me some brownies, bitch," and I mean he wasn't doing that, but anyway, you had Galactus and the Silver Surfer and the Negative Zone and all these kind of crazy concepts. You had, and I'm skipping over some really great eras of the Fantastic Four, but I'm trying to prove a point to you quickly, which is you had like John Byrne come in and he did his era of the Fantastic Four. You had Walt Simonson do an era of the Fantastic Four that I think was equally good. You've had a lot of different, you had the Jonathan Hickman era of Fantastic Four. And one thing that's unique is that unlike several of the other comics, unlike Spider-Man, the Avengers, and kind of other things, the Fantastic Four really gave the writer the ability and the freedom to write their way. You've had very, very different takes on the Fantastic Four, very different versions of what that comic is like, what the people are like, what the personalities are like, kind of all that stuff. You've had really unique, vibes, if you will, of the FF, and that's the you don't have that same kind of. I mean, look, you've had lots of writers doing lots of different takes of lots of different comics for sure, but the Fantastic Four has had some epic runs that are completely different. The Kirby, Hickman, and Byrne run and Simonson runs of Fantastic Four could not be more different in tone and in style, and yet I would recommend all those in a heartbeat. They're all excellent runs of the comic, but very, very different runs. So I think that's something kind of amazing and magical about the Fantastic Four. But this video is about how the Invisible Woman can like just magically, cut dicks off with her power. So that's where we're going with this. Anyway, in all this, we have seen over the years, I think Kirby and Stan Lee, and then I like how I just omitted Stan Lee from a lot of those comments. Anyway, the Kirby and Stan Lee, the Byrne, and to some extent Simonson. Simonson started powering her up more. Byrne did the whole Malice thing, which a lot of people point to. And that's a good storyline. But Byrne was still running within the confines of, I can't make this woman like godlike in power. He was still putting limitations on her, often because of her own self-confidence, sometimes because of exertion. Like if I'm maintaining this force field for too long, and the long could be like, I've been doing this for 20 seconds now, and there's a building falling on top of me, and I'm about to pass out if I don't. He put limitations on her power. Simonson boosted those up a little bit with his storyline. Hickman did in between Simonson and Hickman, now we're talking like 20 years worth of comics. They started to chip away at this. I think largely because they wanted to have the Invisible Woman, when she did appear, because for whatever reason, in all the times that people have written the Fantastic Four, including today, they kind of want her to be a strong, confident woman. But you compare that to Carol Danvers, to Storm, to Kamala Khan, and it's nowhere at the same level. They have allowed Sue Storm, to largely, take a back seat to other characters, to the Thing, to the Human Torch, to Mr. Fantastic. Like they have not put anywhere remotely close to the same effort into boosting up Sue that they have for a lot of other characters in their universe. But the reality is, if you look at the power set, I keep saying Sue Storm, Susan Richards, the Invisible Woman, is potentially the most powerful character in the Marvel universe, or up there. So she, the invisible part is kind of the lame part of her power, but she can't. We like they have. There's been comics where she has been holding back the power of the Phoenix, Jean Grey, and not really like she's like I'm putting a lot of effort into this, but like you don't like she's not passing out like she did back in the Stanley and Byrne era. She's holding back a world destroyer level of power. And because she can manifest these constructs anywhere and be invisible at the time, you see a world where, like, Sue Storm, again, Susan Richards. Why do I keep going Sue Storm? It's because I'm an OG Fantastic Four reader. That's why. Susan Richards, the Invisible Woman, can pretty much, like, what's funny is, they'll every now and then they'll do things like, oh, I'm Doctor Doom and my magic's preventing you from doing stuff. She's like, okay, that's cool, but I'm just going to use these constructs of mine to dump a mountain on your head. You could climb out of that, you stupid dick. Like she very easily, very simply with her power set can end the vast majority of Marvel characters. Like you think about, because they've also shown her doing things like she creates a bubble with a building inside of it, and then she crushes it down to like a square inch and of this super hard material. And so she can do that. I mean, just think about like if she was ever a villain, like you get these storylines where the Hand and other villain organizations are like, we're going to get North Star, or we're going to convert him to evil, or we're going to get Elektra, and we're going to convert her to evil. Yeah, that sounds cool. You get the Invisible Woman, and you rule the world. Because you get that character, you get Susan. She's like, I'm just gonna put a little bubble right here. I'm just gonna put a little bubble around Cyclops, and I'm just gonna shrink that bubble to be, the size of a grape. And Cyclops is gonna be highly concentrated goo. Just like she could instantly murder the Avengers, like just lop people's arms off, like all kinds of stuff. Now, granted, her moral code would prevent her from doing this, but I mean, there's no reason why she is any kind of threat whatsoever, in all fronts. So I think the Invisible Woman is where it's at, bar none, in the Marvel universe. And I think what cracks me up a little bit is kind of like I mentioned before. Marvel is kind of desperate to say, oh man, we got to get a really strong, woman superhero. We really got to put some effort into Carol Danvers. Oh man, X-23. We got to put some effort there. When meanwhile, they've got a character who legit, from her power, without them doing any kind of modifications, is a world ender. I would argue, the Phoenix has a cosmic entity, a lot of crazy bullshit along with that. But sub Phoenix, who is the most powerful woman in all of Marvel? Like again, probably the one argument you could give is that the Invisible Woman is not ruthless with how she uses her power. That's it. Like if she gets over that little qualm, like she's done. I find that fascinating that by and large. Again, I think, and this is where Stan Lee, Kirby, Byrne, I think, did a better job of trying to, not, completely let the genie out of the bottle. But if you look at the last 20 years, this character who's often relegated to the background, and they'll do little things like with her, like, I outsmarted Reed. I'm smart. Yeah, that's nice. You could also, pretty much wipe Japan off the map by making big sections of it invisible and or just crushing it with the kind of the TK constructs you can make. Like they're like you can do all kinds of things. And it's funny that they will go to the Captain Marvel is really powerful. She's got a cat that's got an octopus mouth. She is that's an amazing character. Meanwhile, you have other characters. It's like, the Invisible Woman can, make a state invisible. And just freak people out. She could, there's so many aspects to her power. The Invisible Woman could be like, you know what? I'm fighting this villain. I think I'm just going to make your retinas, your eyeballs, invisible. You won't be able to see. Now you're blind. Congratulations, you and Daredevil, you fight it out. But sorry, Thanos, you have no idea what you can't see anymore. Oh, P.S. I just ripped Infinity Gauntlet off your arm, and with your arm, and tossed it in negative zone. That's like that character has become over the top, ridiculously powerful. Anyway, I don't know. These are the little things I think about. What about the Invisible Woman? First off, they probably overpowered her. But I'm trying to think of, is there a character in the Marvel universe that is more overpowered and yet they don't do anything with than old Susan Richards? I think that's it. I mean, if you think about what that character can't do for just a moment. It's silly. Anyway, all right, that's a little bit of thanks for indulging me with my craziness here. I'm just picturing like now the problem is I've read the Fantastic Four this way for a while. It's like it's the Fantastic Four, and here comes the Frightful Four. The Wizard is here. It's like I think that if if you haven't knocked Susan Richards out with some kind of paralysis gas, that fight is going to take roughly 2 seconds. Like that. Anyway, all right, that's enough out of me. What do you think? Silly? Not silly? Let me know in the comments below. Engagement. I love it. Thanks for listening.